Hey, hey! Hello, everyone. Greetings, rock stars. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful day. Welcome to another edition of TallTal Presents. I'm Tal. I'm Tall. Here we go. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to be modeling the dividing of fractions so we can get a better conceptual understanding of what it means to divide. Time does a duck wake up? That'd be the quack of dawn. Quack. The quack of dawn. All right, what are we doing today? I already told you. We're going to be modeling the division of fraction using bar models. That's the tool we are going to use. Okay, so based on that, let's do a little understanding and figuring out if you remember these. Do you remember back in the day ever using these? Maybe you made them out of construction paper. Maybe your teacher had a packet of them that you were like little hard plastic or cardboard. But basically what this is showing, this is the understanding of how we teach kids at the youngest level what fractions are. So we say that top one is a 1. That represents a whole. And this next layer shows us that it takes 2 halves to make a whole. A half and a half makes a whole. And that's what each layer does. Just keep going down. If I get to the fourths, well, it takes 4 of these because we broke it into fourths to make one whole. All the way down here, that takes 12 of these guys. Another one, another one, another one, another one. 12 twelfths will give us a whole. So this is the concept we're going to use to kind of understand dividing fractions. Just want to make sure you understand what those are in the first place, though. Okay, so let's go from basic to advanced. So let's say we have 1 or 1 whole, and we're going to divide it into thirds, okay? So the first thing we do is we use a 1, which is our whole, and what we're going to do is divide that into thirds. So let's go ahead and divide it into thirds, okay? And when we do that, what we see is how many of those thirds is 1 whole broken into? Well, you can see that 1 whole is broken into 3 of these, right? All right, so we have 3 of those. So you would say 1, 2, and 3. 1 broken into thirds gives us 3. Like I said, we're going from a basic to advanced. Let's go next level. What if we have 1/2 and we want to divide it by fourths? Now we're not dividing that 1/2 into fourths. We're dividing it by fourths. And what do you think I mean by that? Well, just a reminder, that's what 1 equals. And so this would be where what our halves look like compared to the whole. So how many of those halves do we need? We only need 1 for our problem. So there we are at 1/2. And we're going to divide it by fourths. We're not taking that 1/2 and cutting it into 4 pieces. We are seeing how many fourths, which are connected to this whole. All right, so it takes 4 fourths to make a whole. How many of those fourths are going to be needed to divide in 1/2? So here we go. Now we just use the fourths that cover the same amount of territory. All right, so what we have is, well, how many of those fourths is 1/2 broken into? I spy 1 and I spy 2. All right, so it's divided by 2. There we go. 1/2 broken into fourths is 2. Uh-oh, next level, we must be getting harder. Now we're going to take 3 fourths, okay? So that's what 4 fourths looks like. We only need 3 of them. And we're going to break it into eighths, all right? What do eighths look like? So there's 8 of them. 8 eighths equals a whole. We don't need all of them, okay? Because we only need to have the 3 fourths. We only need enough to break this 3 fourths into eighths. So we get rid of some of those, okay? And then we could ask ourselves, how many eighths is 3 fourths broken into? Well, what do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the answer is 6. Not that hard, is it? Well, let's look at this. What if we have 2 thirds and we're dividing it into 2 twelfths? Okay, so next level. The reason this is next level, because everything we've done so far has had a 1 at the top when whatever we're breaking it into. So now we're going to ask ourselves what 2 thirds broken into 2 twelfths looks like. All right, so we already know how to do this. So now we got 2 thirds shaded in. Okay, and this is what twelfths looks like. Okay, how many of those? Well, we only need enough to cover the 2 thirds. Now here's where it's tricky. Now in previous examples, this answer would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, it would have been 8, but we're not breaking it into 1 twelfths. We are breaking it into 2 twelfths. So how many 2/12ths do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. You see how each one of those circles has 2/12ths in it? So our answer is, how many 2/12ths is 2/3 broken into? It's broken into 4. Okay, we still broke it into 12ths, but for all those 12ths, we needed 2 in each group. Good job. Next level, you mean it's crazier than that? Well, let's take our fifths. All right, we have 3/5 broken into halves. Okay, and this scenario lets us understand, there's our 3/5, what happens if it doesn't align evenly. So we're going to break it into halves. And here you go. There's 3/5 broken into halves. And this is the first time where we have seen that this has not lined up with this. Okay, so what does that mean? That means, we've got ourselves a remainder. Okay, so 1/2 will for sure fit in there. So we know our answers. How many halves will fit into 3/5? We know for sure one of them will fit there so far. But we have a remainder. We need to find the same size shape to solve this last chunk. Okay, so what we're going to have is 1 and some kind of fraction. So in order to do this, we need to figure out, basically the common denominator is where we're heading, but we need to break our halves into fifths. So this time, we're just taking this half, okay, and we're breaking it into 5 pieces, and we're taking every one of these fifths, and we're cutting them in half. Okay, so we're going to cut the half into fifths, and we're going to cut the fifths in half. So here's our fifths cut into half. So let me erase my screen so you can see that again in slow motion. All right, so let me go backward. Let me go backwards. So there's our fifths. I'm going to break each one of those fifths in half. Here we go. So there they go. Now you see how they're all broken halves. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to take my half and I'm going to cut it into 5 pieces. So there we have it. Now, what did we notice gets filled in here? Okay, that's one spot. That is 1/5 of the half. All right, 1/5 of a half. So remember, we're trying to get to what is our final answer. Well, how many halves fit into it? 1. And then what else? 1/5 of this half. So our answer is 1 and 1/5. Interesting, huh? So because these are fifths up here, but that's a fifth of this whole. Okay, when we're doing the answer, this is a fifth, which is smaller, right? But it's a fifth of this. It's a fifth of the half. And that's where that answer gets a little tricky. Okay, so the answer is 1 and 1/5. So that's what you're going to do. If you ever get to a point where they do not align, so when you do your work, they do, well, let me go back a little bit more. You realize that one of them will fit, but I have some extra space. Well, whatever this is, fifths, break the bottom into fifths. And whatever the top is, break them into whatever the bottom is. So 1/2 and fifths, okay? All right. So that's what you're going to do for those. All right, that's how we model dividing fractions. All right, I think you guys are ready to go maybe do a little practice or something. What is black and white and wet all over? Unbelievable. It's a zebra that was pushed into a swimming pool. Cannonball! Oh.